and a beautiful day to all of you out there. Thank you so much for joining my channel. My name's Sherry, and we're here studying the lessons of A Course in Miracles. Today we are going to be doing lesson number 138. Heaven is the decision I must make. And I'm here in Salt Spring Island, Canada, one of the most beautiful enchanted places on the planet. I'm surrounded by extremely tall trees. The beautiful crisp air is blowing through my hair, and I hear the birds. I'm hearing the water down here. I actually just dropped Tina off at the ferry, which is right across this waterway. I don't know if you can see that ferry crossing or not. I just see a sailboat back there. Anyway, she just suggested that I come over here and check it out and take a walk, so I did. And it's every park that I've been to so far is just utterly amazing. Woodpeckers are joining us, so let's just go ahead and get started on this lesson. Okay, today, according to the Ken Wapnick notes I took a little study of before jumping on here, this lesson is gonna take us into our understanding of duality and non-duality. And basically, the idea of non-duality is oneness, and heaven would be a good example of where that is or what that looks like, if you can even imagine. And duality is this place that we would call the third dimension, this planet Earth, the school planet. We're here in this confusing state of mind where we are being guided by the ego to believe in fear, judgment, depression, sadness, anger, grief, jealousy, guilt, all these things, and they operate on the rules of duality. In non-duality, we are going to be not even thinking about any of the things that stress us or the problems that we have, because we are in a frequency of oneness. We are in this level of consciousness that doesn't require decisions to be made, even, because your guidance and your inner knowing takes you exactly along the path that you need to be on, and you're not having to confront all these blockages in your mind that the ego offers you as a defense against being attacked, which is also the imagination of the ego, the mad nightmare that the ego's having that you actually are playing out in your day-to-day life. So let's get into this lesson and see how you feel and how this comes into your mind in terms of your understanding of duality and non-duality, and whether or not you actually have to make a decision for heaven, or has that decision already been made and we just forgot. All right, here we go. Heaven is the decision I must make. In this world, heaven is a choice, because here we believe there are alternatives to choose between. We think that all things have an opposite and what we want to choose. If heaven exists, there must be hell as well, for contradiction is the way we make what we perceive and what we think is real. Creation knows no opposite, but here is opposition part of being real. It is this strange perception of the truth that makes the choice of heaven seem to be the same as the relinquishment of hell. It is not really thus. Yet what is true in God's creation cannot enter here until it is reflected in some form the world can understand. Truth cannot come where it could only be perceived with fear. For this would be the error truth can be brought to illusions. Opposition makes truth unwelcome, and it cannot come. Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. Decision lets one of conflicting goals become the aim of effort and expenditure of time. Without decision, time is but a waste and effort dissipated. It is spent for nothing in return, and time goes by without results. There is no sense of gain, for nothing is accomplished, nothing learned. You need to be reminded that you think 1,000 choices are confronting you when there is really only one to make. And this is the point that Ken's making about non-duality. And even this seems to be a choice. Do not confuse yourself with all the doubts that myriad decisions would induce. You make but one. And when that one is made, you will perceive it was no choice at all. For truth is true, and nothing else is true. There is no opposite to choose instead. There is no contradiction to the truth. Choosing depends on learning, and the truth cannot be learned but only recognized. In recognition, its acceptance lies, and as it is accepted, it is known. But knowledge is beyond the goals we seek to teach within the framework of this course. Ours are teaching goals, to be attained through learning how to reach them, what they are, and what they offer you. Decisions are the outcome of your learning, for they rest on what you have accepted as the truth of what you are and what your needs must be. In this insanely complicated world, heaven appears to take the form of choice rather than merely being what it is. All right, I'm going to read that again. In this insanely complicated world, heaven appears to take the form of choice rather than merely being what it is. So that's what's funny about the title of this lesson leads you to believe that you're making a decision for heaven, but heaven just is. God is, love is, truth is, non-duality is. Just think about that for a little while. Of all the choices you have tried to make, this is the simplest, most definitive and prototype of all the rest, the one which settles all decisions. If you could decide the rest, this one remains unsolved. But when you solve this one, the others are resolved with it. For all decisions but conceal this one by taking different forms. Here is the final and only choice in which truth accepted or denied. So we begin today considering the choice that time was made to help us make. Such is its holy purpose, now transformed from the intent you gave it, that it be a means for demonstrating hell is real, hope changes to despair, and life itself must in the end be overcome by death. In death alone are opposites resolved, for ending opposition is to die. And thus salvation must be seen as death, for life is seen as conflict. To resolve the conflict is to end your life as well. These mad beliefs can gain unconscious hold of great intensity and grip the mind with terror and anxiety so strong that it will not relinquish its ideas about its own protection. It must be saved from salvation, threatened to be safe, and magically armored against the truth. And these decisions are made unaware to keep them safely undisturbed, apart from question and reason and from doubt. Heaven is chosen consciously. The choice cannot be made until alternatives are accurately seen and understood. All that is veiled in shadows must be raised to understanding, to be judged again, this time with heaven's help. And all mistakes in judgment that the mind has made before are open to correction, as the truth dismisses them as causeless. Now are they without effects. They cannot be concealed because their nothingness is recognized. And what's coming to me right now is my the transformation that I'm undergoing right now after having done the 21-day water fast and turning my diet back into something that is completely unrestricted, unlimited, and very different than it was a couple of months ago. And so what I realized that I was not only judging the way that I was choosing to eat, because before I was afraid that my body was gonna be in pain, get sick, and die. So I've let go of that idea to the best of my ability, consciously bringing it to my awareness that I'm not gonna make decisions based on fear any longer. Fear of the weakness and vulnerability of my body, and it needs my help or it needs outside help, all that stuff. So what happens is, as I'm in a less judgmental place about what I'm eating, about what others are eating, about the reasons why people make their choices as if it's any of my business, I feel this space of neutrality. And it feels like I'm not choosing anything, I'm just neutral. And I think that that's something to take on as a lesson, as a reflection in your life. Are you taking sides in anything? You know, it's easy to look externally. It's an election year in the US, so there's people taking sides all the time, and there's so many subcategories of judgment. Even though you think you're selecting one side or the other, you're certainly judging the side that you're not choosing, probably. And there's all of these like ego explanations as to why it's totally perfectly okay, normal, and expected to have so many opinions and so many stances that you represent in this world of illusions. So just a little aside there. I'll jump back into the lesson here. The conscious choice of heaven is as sure as is the ending of the fear of hell when it is raised from its protective shield of unawareness and is brought to light. Who can decide between the clearly seen and the unrecognized? Yet who can fail to make a choice between alternatives when only one is seen as valuable, the other as a wholly worthless thing, a but imagined source of guilt and pain? Who hesitates to make a choice like this? And shall we hesitate to choose today? We make the choice for heaven as we wake and spend 5 minutes making sure that we have made the one decision that is sane. We recognize we make a conscious choice between what has existence and what has nothing but an appearance of the truth. Its pseudo-being brought to what is real is flimsy and transparent in the light. It holds no terror now for what was made enormous, vengeful, pitiless with hate, demands obscurity for fear to be invested there. Now it is recognized as but a foolish, trivial mistake. Before we close our eyes and sleep tonight, we reaffirm the choice that we have made each hour in between. And now we give the last 5 minutes of our waking day to the decision with which we woke. As every hour passed, we have declared our choice again in a brief, quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. And finally, we close the day with this, acknowledging we choose but what we want. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind because it is the only thing I want. So I love that. There really are no decisions if we're choosing heaven, because heaven is like the one answer. Heaven is salvation. Heaven is the solution to all of our problems that we're creating, imagining, dreaming up, running from, all the above. So we get a unique exposure to a grand metaphysical idea today and try to fit your consciousness into that lane of non-duality. And maybe it starts with just making yourself more neutral in areas that are usually very polarizing in your life. Like instead of choosing a side in anything, step back, or perhaps choose the other side. Give yourself the opportunity to develop compassion by trying to understand the other side's arguments or, explanations or things of that nature. And I'll be honest with you guys, since I've decided to not keep all animal products out of my diet, and I've been watching cooking shows on YouTube and having more things come into my feed, I'm getting so many interviews with people that have done the carnivore diet. And the way that they explain what's happening in their body is the same way that the vegans and the vegetarians and the raw foodists, it's the same things that they're saying. I tried this diet, it's simplified, it's whole foods. I mean, the carnivore diet is cooked, but there are all these similarities, and it's like everybody's saying the same thing in a way. And it's really funny to be in a place of neutrality where I don't feel upset about the other side's way of seeing or their explanation for the healthy changes that are happening in their bodies. It's great. I mean, if people are finding healing, fantastic, good for them. But I don't want to be in the battleground of judging others based upon their lifestyle choices and things of that nature. So it feels good to be neutral. I think this lesson could lead you to that if you're open to it. And yeah, I just hope that you get something out of today. Choosing heaven. Heaven is the decision I must make. Thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you back here in beautiful Canada for our next video. Take care. Love you all.